Welcome in everybody to another episode of Cheat Code Weekly, where we discuss everything video game collecting and investing. I, of course, am Greg, joined here once again by Henry, and today we have a special guest with us who a lot of you in the hobby might know who he is. We have Josh Wafflefoot, for those of you who know him online over the years, one of the most knowledgeable and dedicated collectors I've ever come across personally in this hobby now over the past 15 years. Josh Wafflefoot, I have been following your advice. I've been learning from you since the Nintendo age days, reading posts, literally just trying to absorb as much as I can. I'm sure there's people now who follow my YouTube, right? And they listen to the things I say and try to absorb knowledge. 10, 15 years ago, I was doing that with you, man, which is just crazy that you're still here. Now I'm here. And I don't know, it just feels like it's been a lifetime of collecting alongside you without ever, I don't know. We don't interact all that much, actually, like ever.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I'm pumped. Thanks for the kind words. Yeah, it's been a while. You say a lifetime, but it really has been a lifetime of
Over
collecting.
2 decades almost here. I'm coming up on.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, and you say, taking knowledge from the internet and different people and that's kind of how I really got into it was when I was in college. I would in between classes, I'd go to the computer lab, I'd hop on the internet, and I would just sit there and read old NES World Forum posts or their old articles. And that's really what drove me to get me into collecting, I would say.
Yeah,
So,
you also now have the Video Game Collectors podcast where you yourself, along with Matt, we had him on talking about Atari a couple weeks ago. You guys have your own podcast, so definitely check that out if you want to hear more information from both Matt and Josh about video game collecting. And today, we're going to get some perspective from you, Josh, about a guy who's dabbled in just about everything over the years. You have information. One thing we do want to talk to you a bit later is about Sachen. I don't even know how to say it.
Sachin,
Sachen?
Sachin games. Yeah, that Henry prompted me by saying you can talk about Sachin. I was like, okay, I'll be there. No
Yeah,
problem.
I know
That's
that
how you
if
reel them in, man.
yes, if there's one thing you
Wait.
want to talk about, it is probably the most controversial NES games that exist. People have argued about this for years on Nintendo Age and other forums. So we will talk about that later as well. But first, like, tell us about your own collecting journey, how long you've been doing this, what drives your passion, Josh? Because you've been into it now. Well, you're saying since your college days, you're probably over 20, 25 years in collecting now.
Yeah, it goes back farther than college. Further than college. Yeah, further than college. It really started when I sold my NES games at a flea market and had instant regret in doing that. And because, I wanted to buy Super Nintendo games. So I took my NES games to a flea market and I sold everything. I had the black holder that had the console in it and I had like 20 some odd games in there, and I sold it all for $25,
What
right?
kind of
And
year would that have been? Is that like all the way back?
oh gosh, I was probably in fifth fifth or sixth grade. So,
Hmm.
and when the Super Nintendo was just coming into its own.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah, okay.
yeah, and I instantly had a regret about doing that. And so when I had the chance for the Nintendo 64, when that came out and I was going to get one, my parents were like, "Hey, do you want to sell your Super Nintendo?" I was like, "No, no." So I still have my original Super Nintendo.
That's
Over the
cool.
years I got rid of some of the boxes, and all that crap, but I have the original console that's yellow and chipped and all cracked and looks like absolute hell. Uh, but it really started then, where I just knew that I something was being it felt like something was being ripped away from me, and I knew I had a problem. So
Problem.
You had a problem.
yeah,
Oh
as a
man.
kid, I knew instantly. And then I would say I started buying that stuff back in high school, where I would, um, you know, ask kids if they had their old Nintendo games, if they wanted them anymore, and then they'd bring them to school, and someone would give them to me. So I would save my lunch money up, and I would buy them from them, or whatever. So or on our lunch when you could leave campus, we would go to the thrift stores and look for video games. So I had a couple friends that I did that with fairly regularly. But when I got my license, when I turned 16 years old, the first drive that I made was over my friend's house. His name was Brandon, and he didn't play his games anymore. I'm like, "What do you want to do with those?" He's like, "You can have them." So all these games that I grew up playing with my good friend as a kid, he just gave them all to me. and it was over 16 years old, and I was full blown buying an NES. And then I went wild. I'd track down rental stores. I'd buy out their stock, and this happened for years. And within that, you get duplicates, and so I would sell duplicates to fund my hobby, just like many people start doing this. And so that's that's really, I would say, the skinny of my collecting journey. And then it kind of um, it exploded from there. I would read, I would study everything I could about what the sets were, figuring out what prototypes were. There was great website resources at the time. Digital Press was out there. There was Kevin TSR Gifford's Atari headquarter website, and it had great NES information. That's when we discovered Mike Etler's rarity list
I'm familiar
and
with that. Yeah, one
all
of
that
the
jazz.
very very first.
Yeah, and there's games on there like Pyramids of Ra, and you're like, where's this game at? Does it exist? Is it a prototype? And
Wasn't Tenjin Tetris like literally the tippy top at that time?
yeah, it was. And there was other weird ones. There's like Moon Ranger and stuff, just which is rightfully so, extremely rare game. And so a lot of what really pulled me in deeper into NES was this idea that there were all these unlicensed video games. Like the Tengen games that everybody had, RBI Baseball, they had a Gauntlet, they played Tubin, everybody played that, but not very many people played King Neptune's Adventure or the Chimerica library, Stunt Kids, Ultimate Stuntman. And so kind of coming to terms with there are just hundreds and hundreds of these games that I never played or really ever had the opportunity to play. That's really what took me into where I am today. And it doesn't stop. So,
Do you want to buy them to play them, or do you want to buy them just to collect them? Because it sounds like you never
ultimately,
had.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
it, to buy to
yeah,
play them, try them out.
yeah.
Like,
Okay.
what's this thing? But you get to this point where like, oh, this is terrible. I don't want to play Othello.
Unlicensed crap.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Brandon. But uh yeah, but then you along the way you discover new things and new games, and different things you never played growing up. And so that was a big part of it for
Yeah, I
me.
think for a lot of people, like for myself, right, it was all about getting him to play them. Oh man, I'll try out all these great games. This is amazing. And, did that for 5 to 10 years. Then you kind of play everything. Not, you know what I mean? Not everything, but you're like, okay, like I'm satiated with my NES exploration. And it just turned into buying to collect, period.
Yeah, and it got really easy to play just anything if you wanted to in that era. That's really when emulators were coming into their own, and you could emulate practically any NES game on your computer. And so if you wanted to play it, you could do it.
Yeah,
That's
that pretty much destroyed all drive I had of like, oh, I need to go buy this old game to play. My phone has everything. It just
yeah,
I know a lot of people still do it, like buy to play. Emulators aren't good enough, whatever it is, but like for myself, I mean, I almost never buy anything anymore purely to play it, just because don't
yeah,
need to.
yeah. It really turned into an evolution of to play, to collect, to even resell. That I paid for college with selling video games.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and then I think by 2004, I had I was down to 9 NES games, including the unlicensed stuff. And I was like, I want to travel a little bit. So I sold my NES collection. I was
You almost
missing,
had a full set then in '04.
yeah, I was missing stadium events, Mario's Time Machine, and I
Mm.
was probably missing maybe 50 boxes. So it was almost complete box as well.
Yeah,
So
that's nuts.
I wasn't that far off, but that was I was buying rental stores, so I would get boxes and boxes of games, for $2 to $3 a piece, sometimes less. And so I sold it all off, and I traveled, and you know, but that's the beauty of it. I still love to collect. I kept certain things. I didn't sell everything at that point, but it
When did sealed become your passion then? Like was that after you sold off and came back, or how long were you out even?
yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say that collecting is an evolution, right? You never really know where it's going to go. I'd say you start with carts, turn into CIB collector, then you turn into maybe a seal collector, and then you turn into a hoarder of everything. You go to prototypes, you get rid of prototypes, you come back to prototypes, you go back to sealed, you leave sealed, you come back to sealed, you go for mint CIBs, and then you're like, man, I have all these sealed PlayStation 4 games. Why don't I just play some of them? So you start opening your PS4 games to play with your kid. And
You've come
that's
full
it.
circle. Is that what you're saying? Now
Come full
you're,
circle. Now I'm just
yeah.
playing games with my kids and open them. We come into the room here and we're like, ah, well, why don't we try this out? And we get the Fast and Furious out. It's sealed. We open it. I look it up online, make sure it's not some $200 sealed game. And I'm like, oh, well, open a $17 game. It's here. So it's yeah, full circle. So it's an evolution. I still very passionate about sealed collecting. I think there are a lot of layers to it. I think that ultimately, if you have a sealed game, yeah, you probably shouldn't open it.
It's PS4, so you're fine.
Yeah, are we though? It's the end of
Uh,
yeah. No,
well,
to me, I do like sealed games. I think they offer a layer of collecting within the variant mind of a collector. So I appreciate it for that. I appreciate him for the extreme rarity and scarcity of the condition on them. I think that if people just open all the games, I don't know, we wouldn't know where certain variants come from, right? Like, for instance, there was the Mortal Kombat Target exclusive Sub-Zero Mythologies PlayStation 1 variant on Golden last night, and I ended up buying it. I'd never seen it, and it came packaged sealed with a soundtrack from Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Terrible movie, great soundtrack. So I bought that because you would not know that that variant exists if it wasn't sealed. And I make this
sure.
argument with a game like Cars 2 across the consoles that they all have different unique product codes on the back of the game, but there are, I want to say, five different variants of that game. There's a standard edition, there's a Toys R Us edition, there's like the movie ticket edition, and those stickers that indicate which versions you are buying are on the outside of the seal wrap. So if you are like, oh, why do all these different codes exist on the back of these games? If you didn't look for them sealed, you wouldn't know that that's the Toys R Us, that's the $5 off movie concession, that's the one to get $5 off at the Disney store in Disneyland, you know. So seal collecting has its importance within the variant collecting community.
Yeah,
So
that's like I know the preservation always gets brought up in a sense of like, oh, you keep it factory sealed, so we have lasting examples from factory of how it actually was, but very much less gets brought up about these variants like you're mentioning here. Because with a lot of them, like GameCube titles, you'll have, oh, Kmart variant. And even though the controller or the guidebook or whatever's missing, it's very easy to
mhm.
say that's the Kmart variant. It's still printed on. But all of those sticker variants, like you're mentioning, are just lost to time.
Yeah,
They don't have any, like Twisted Metal 4 with the CD included as well. Like
So,
that
yeah.
doesn't there's
yep,
nothing to indicate that. It has to be factory sealed.
yeah.
But coming to 2025 then, what's the state of the hobby like to you? Like you've been here now, I guess 30 years, maybe even longer. What's good, what's bad? Should people still get into video game collecting? Or has everything video game collecting has to offer just, you know, we've already
No,
done it all.
everybody should get into it. I for my selfish reasons, I want people to stay away because I love to find stuff and get things that other people might want down the road, right? So no, I think it's still super niche, right? We are a small group of people compared to the masses. And that's video game collecting in general.
Yeah.
Very small group of collecting few. And then you drill that down to, say, sealed collector or a prototype collector or whatever, a Super Nintendo collector even. That is even more niche. So there is massive upside for people to come into the hobby still, to collect, pick up things that you love. You don't have to buy sealed. You could buy two sealed games if you want. Buy the one sealed game that you loved. If you love Final Fantasy, go buy Final Fantasy. right? Get a nice sealed copy, put it on your shelf. You don't have to
I
buy.
mean, a lot of the CIB chase, even if you're going condition sensitive, like
Oh,
you have a lifetime of difficulty right there in front of you if you want to get like mint SNES games. CIB.
impossible. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, right?
impossible.
Like
That's what I collect for myself for sets. I want mint. I don't want anything else. So if I'm gonna, I'm a set collector, and if it's going on my shelf, it's got to be nice, and I'm gonna be done with it. I'm not gonna get the next game. I'm not gonna upgrade the condition later. So
Do you full set collect or do you like subsets? Like I only want
no, I
Mario
have
NES games or
full
something.
set,
do you
Full
still
set.
set.
full set collect? Like you are
Yeah, if it's nice and mint enough to stay on my shelf, it's a variant. I'm not selling it. I have multiple copies of football for Atari 2600 up here. So like it's
so you're full set collecting plus variant collecting within the full set.
yeah, so if it's nice and it's different than the one I have on the shelf, I'm gonna keep it. But if it's got a snag or a tear in it, nah, it's gone. I'll get it later. So
What do you think about full set collecting then? Should people get into that in
no,
2025?
you absolutely should not get into full set collecting. So
Remember,
should,
Josh has a problem. He diagnosed it when he was 16.
yeah, you should if you want to like get into collecting, just jump in, right? Just do it.
Yeah, because
Don't
people always say,
like
where do I start? How do I start?
overanalyze
What do I
it.
do?
Yeah, don't overanalyze it. Jump in, have fun doing it. And if 6 months, a year go by and you don't like what you're doing, just sell it. You know?
I,
And be done
I
with it.
actually say that a lot is like if you do it and don't like it, just sell the stuff. Like you don't have to
Yeah.
hold it for some kind of internet appeasal. Like just like get rid of your stuff if it's not hitting like you thought it would.
Yeah, don't feel guilty about it. The minute if I sell something and somebody's like, it's for my personal collection, I'm never gonna sell it. I'm like, I don't care. I really don't. If you buy this from me and sell it tomorrow, great. Not my problem.
I agree in principle, but I mean I've been jaded by giving people a deal and then it's like but I guess that's why I stopped giving people deals. I'll be honest. Like I just don't ever, you
The,
know.
I'll give people deals. I guess I don't care there, but I also once it's physically even not left me, but I physically or like mentally removed myself from keeping that item. Whatever it is I sell it for, it's gone. I don't care.
Yeah, it's
So that's why
now that I'm
I'm
doing
okay
my
running open auctions, and I lose money on open auctions all the time, but I've made peace with that item. It's gone.
yeah, I'm doing like my Mission Mario trying to sell stuff, get rid of stuff. And like, it's funny because there is like the mental separation happens before the actual sale. For
Mhm.
everything I try to get rid of, it's like I've already mentally gotten rid of it. Now, whatever I get in for cash or money or whatever, that's like the second stage of, I don't know, separation. I don't know what you want to call it, the breakup process of your collection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. It's totally healthy.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good paring down. I'll say that. It's felt nice.
Josh, you've basically seen almost every single game from like a bunch of consoles. So like what really gets our blood flowing? Is it Sachen? Is there something else you're going after? And if there is, let us
Sach
know.
Sachin was really hot and cool for a minute, and
Uh-huh.
then it got
When was it cool? When was that? So let's just talk about what is Sachen, just for everyone here. What the
okay.
hell is this?
Sachin, I got a couple games here. Sachin is this really great Taiwanese company, and they make these games like this, like Super Paying with amazingly suggestive covers. But Tinchan Enterprises, uh, I don't know when they started making games, maybe 1989, 1990. Uh, there's a full set of 72 pin NES carts out there. God, I don't even know how many. 70 plus unique games that nobody ever played. So unlicensed, international, world, whatever. That's another debate. But
72 pin means they work North American?
North American, yeah. So were they released here? It's up for debate, right? I think that they were marketed here. You can mail order for them. They look like a terrible unlicensed shell, right?
Oh man. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
They're really cheap plastic. Sometimes you'll stick one in the system, it won't work, and then you'll have to open it because you'll see that they put the board in backwards or something when they ship them out. It's happened many times with these games for me. But they made 72 pin and 60 pins. There was a time, I would say 2004, maybe it was before that. Oh, sorry. Maybe it was probably a little before that, but you could order directly the from Sachen, the full set from them. And you get a mix of full art boxes, you'd get a mix of the different colored boxes, like there's a blue box, there's a purple box, there's a
Oh
green
my God.
box. And these are what the people in the Sachen world called the generics, right? Because they're generically terrible.
Are those all the same game besides the Super
No, they're
Famicom?
not. I
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
variant hell is
Because yeah,
Sachen. But
yeah.
you go down this road of this and like, hey, I got to get every variant of the 6-in-1 Sachen game here. Orange, green, purple, blue. Is there a full art somewhere along the lines for this? Maybe. Nobody knows yet. So it's the Wild West with Sachen still. It's a lot of fun, and I recommend people get into it.
Did so the controversy would always come up of like, do they count for full set NES collecting, North American set? What was ever, where did that end or start? Or
I don't think it's ever going to end, but I think yeah, they're a company that's not located in the United States, right? So strike one against them. They're not a North American game to collect. Um, were they ever sold here retail? Nobody knows. Some have been found with rental stickers on them, so there's that. Sachen did set up at Consumer Electronics Show in the United States to specifically market their games. I want to say, there's trademarks filed in the United States for Sachen games. So there's a good argument for them being here as unlicensed video games. Uh, until the day we see like a catalog with them being advertised, I think that people will just say, not an NES game that I need to worry about because it's not part of the set. So,
did like how is it? Do you have the full Sachen set?
yeah, I have every game, but
Okay.
not.
Is it like, do you see people chasing after them at all in
Yes.
2025?
Yeah, when I've sold duplicates for it, I get people from all over the world bidding on them. It's definitely a world collecting thing. They sold well in Europe when they did. Microgenius distributed them in different parts of Europe. I want to say Italy and France, and they sold in all throughout Scandinavia as well. So Eastern Europe, you find them pop up on Eastern Europe as well. So I've sold them to people in Brazil. There's been some 60 pin ones that have been showing up sealed in Chile recently. I've been buying them there. So
Like recently, like
recently, yeah. Yeah, I got a sealed one recently here. Let me show you.
you're still like actively buying these.
Yeah. Oh, Poker 3, right? See, it says 60 pin on it, but it is sealed. They came sealed with a crappy tube seam, kind of like a Genesis game. Um, and I probably opened this one up because it's kind of nasty. And then there's even like Italian box variants. Look at this thing. See?
My God.
Yeah. So it's like, and that's a
Dude.
72 pin cartridge, but it's absolute madness collecting this stuff. And I'll go in spurts where I'm like, I don't want to touch these damn things to, okay, I got a big lot of these. I got to go through them and see what I have now. So I'll buy them in big groups at a time. So I don't have to pick one here, pick one there.
Yeah, it
Is
sounds
there a-
like it.
Do it. I'm like full blown going into it, and then I'll remove myself from it for 6 months or a year.
Josh, is there a game you would not buy?
Yeah, is there anything?
Like, because I feel
No,
like
I would buy any game. I would.
you'd buy any game.
Yeah,
Okay.
even if it was complete trash, I would take it and sacrifice the case or the components inside for use somewhere else. Like
But
Hannah
what
Montana.
really, yeah, but what really gets it going is the different variants. Like if
Mhm.
the box is different color or if there's some
Oh, yeah.
type of different code in the back. And it's just like something innate inside you that really wants to get it, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've bought sports games on the cheap for years, like just cheap sports games at the thrift stores. And I finally started going through Xbox, right? And every time I have a stack of, say, Maddens, I'll look at every one and compare, see if there's some weird variant that somebody's missed
Oh
over
my
the years.
God.
I
Damn.
found a couple. There's like NFL 2K5 variant for Xbox, and not documented anywhere.
What's the
And
difference? Quick.
what's that?
What's the difference? Like,
The difference is the first print they put a quote on the back. This is the original Xbox. That is a quote from PlayStation PS Extreme Magazine or PlayStation Monthly Magazine. A quote from PlayStation on Xbox. So they removed the quote and changed it to something else because I'm sure Microsoft saw that and like, why is there a PlayStation quote on a Microsoft game, a Sony quote here? So that was removed and changed. And so the disc has changed, the screenshots on the back are changed. But I would have never figured that out if I wasn't some crazy person going through bullshit like this.
no, it's like, when
That's how
we
you
talk
figure it
about,
out.
go ahead.
That's how you figure this stuff out. You study and look at all the crap when you have multiple copies of them. So
Yeah, like, we talk so much about the investment or financial side about everything, but the only reason that any of us know about what's important on the financial side, match stickers, hang tabs, whatever it is, variants, Rev A, is the passion of doing exactly what you're doing there, going through copies of Madden 2K5 or whatever one it was there.
yeah,
And
it was 2K5.
yeah,
Oh,
finding
yeah.
these variants that quote unquote no one cares about that becomes something someone cares about or might become something someone cares about in 10 to 15 to 20 years later. So
Mhm.
long as it gets documented, found, and this passion to do this stupid stuff right now is what really drives this hobby. And the fact that
Yeah.
you're still finding new stuff when you said like people should come in and we're still so niche and we're still, man, it's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, you can find it. You can go find something on Sega Master System somebody doesn't know about. I guarantee you. So you just have to spend a lot of time doing it.
Where would you say, like, if you had to pick a collecting rabbit hole, like you've gone down so many, right? The Sachin's only one thing. I know you're deep into PC collecting too. I know you're an Atari guy. Where are people seriously overlooking? Just like what's actually fun to collect for that no one's really looking at, that they should care more about, something that should be more exciting.
I don't know if it should be exciting or not, but I think it is. It's for display only
Really?
items. Yeah. Uh, and I think a lot of that stems from the idea that a lot of the for display only are a lot of times early marketing pieces. So sometimes the art will change from the display piece to the release piece. So that really gets me going when it's marketing and unique different artwork on things.
Yeah. So, like, just for anyone who doesn't know, what is for display only? Why do they exist?
GameStop, EB Games, Consumer Electronics Show, E3, they had display products. There's the GameCube Wind Waker that's kind of I would say, more famous one. I think somebody has it in the
Is
groups.
that one that had the completely different front art on it?
Yeah, and it was used as a display piece in Nintendo's E3 display when the game was going to come out. So there are unique items to this, and some of them already have extreme value, but there's so much of it out there that there's no documentation, there's no list on this sort of thing. And so it's all about discovery. And I think that's really, for me, what drives me as a collector is discovery, figuring this stuff out, finding something new that nobody's looked at, looking at it with a different perspective, I guess.
Yeah, do you want to show that Mario Party quick there? I think that was a
Yeah,
display
yeah,
only
sure.
behind you there, just so someone can see if they have no idea here. They've never seen one before. There's a
So
Mario 6 or sorry, Mario Party 1
yeah,
with for
for
display only
display only.
printed.
Mhm.
Yeah, printed right there on the front for display only. That is actually printed on the box. That is a real life variant, whatever you want to call it, that you can find. It's not a sticker.
Nope, nope. Yeah, and they don't have games in them. I think people, they know about the Super Nintendo ones. You go on eBay, see the million Super Nintendo ones there are. WATA does grade them, I believe. CGC will grade them as well. I don't know
Yeah,
if VGA
people
would
were
grade.
dumping those on noobs for a bit there because
Yeah,
when you think of for display only, you think of something really rare, but for whatever reason, Super Nintendo had a ton of unfolded ones. I don't know why they exist or why they existed over the years, but you could find a lot of them brand new condition. So they'd get 9.8s and people were just selling them at auction for way too much, essentially.
Yeah, I agree. That was robbery. And it's hard because it's cool to display it like a box in a game, but sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I would just grade this stuff flat. So
Really? You like the flat look?
I think for a display box in some cases, yeah. Or
VGA.
something that's yeah, the flat look is fine for maybe something new old stock, but something that's really distinguishing, saying, hey, look at this thing. It's not a sealed game. There's no game inside here. This is strictly for display. And I know they write it on the labels, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen some of those VGA like flat boxes unfolded before, and I don't love the aesthetic.
The aesthetic isn't there. Yeah, I think I've seen unfolded system boxes framed in people's collections, and I'm like, that looks like crap. I'm sorry. So,
yeah.
But furthermore, with for display, a lot of companies used mock-up boxes for their marketing pieces when they would, go pitch their game or their ID if it was never released, or they would take it to the trade shows, Consumer Electronics Show or whatever. And, and those are super collectible. Something like this. This is a game that was unreleased on Super Nintendo, Spellcraft. This was sold, excuse me, at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And in this case, it's literally just paper wrapped around a box. So, see. But the box underneath, check it out, is a display box as well for the game Cool World.
So they put a box on top of a box.
Yeah. And in this case, the game underneath was Cool World, right? And this is amazing because you can tell that it was a display box because there's no codes printed on the flap for this Super Nintendo game underneath. So part of me wants to rip this display box off because I have another display box underneath here that is possibly unreleased artwork. I have no idea. I've never seen it. So
you can't get that Cool World box. Like this one is printed on top.
It's under here. No, you can't get it. It's a for display piece because it doesn't have the codes printed on the flap. Sometimes you'll see some Super Nintendo games, and they'll have where the code should be. If it was a marketing piece, it will say SNES-XX- whatever instead of the actual code. And so in that case, there's no codes printed on that box. Definitely a display box as well.
I have a single for display only. I think it's the Halo 2 pre-release collector's edition case where they used it for retail display purposes. That is the only for display only piece I have in my collection at this time. And it's cool.
That's an awesome one.
That's a cool piece.
Even modern games, like when I say modern, I mean Xbox, but even the ultra modern stuff, the PS4, the PS5, there's really neat display items that you can just, if you have a relationship with a GameStop employee or somebody that manages one, just go in and say, hey, what are you guys doing with all your old display inserts? Because they usually just toss them. And sometimes they'll give you new sealed packs. So.
And one of the spots there for like modern, even ultra modern collecting is going after retail specific pieces, in my opinion, because, okay, the games are printed. Everyone can hoard them at this point. You can do whatever you want. But like you said, retail specific stuff still gets destroyed. If you can get yourself for display only, if you can get yourself any kind of advertisement pieces for the game specifically, I think there's a lot there.
I do too. I think it's a lot of it just going in the garbage. What people should collect, just whatever people are throwing in the garbage right now. That's what people should collect. The minute something becomes trash, the minute something becomes trash, that's when it starts becoming a little bit valuable, because if you can collect something for free, people are going to do it.
Yeah.
My grandma collected rocks, free as hell. So.
It's still probably free then.
Yeah, it is.
But
I mean, I used to collect rocks as a kid. That's if we talk about having that like problem or whatever, I don't know, it's just innate.
All right. House is on fire. You got a million games. You got to choose one.
Yeah, it's New Kids on the Block.
Seriously?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. The one piece that you'd keep out of everything here. What are you showing us here?
What?
What is this?
It's a prototype box, so a display box, right? That was used at CES to promote the unreleased New Kids on the Block video game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. You can find the information that it was going to be released in Nintendo Power. This was the mock-up box that they showed, and here's the Velcro on the back that they used to stick up on the carpet wall at CES. Parker Brothers did. So,
I
yeah.
had no idea that was supposed to be a game on NES.
Really?
No,
Oh, man.
no, you're hitting me with brand new information here.
Yeah, this is my favorite piece in the whole world. So
Where
I
did
paid
you get it?
226 off eBay. I paid $226 for it.
How
in
many years ago?
2009.
Okay. I was gonna say
That was real.
226. Go ahead.
That's real money, though. That's
That
real
was a
money
lot of
back
money
in
for a piece
2009.
of garbage.
In
Yeah.
2009, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a lot of
Everybody
money.
thought it was nuts. Like, it probably was, but now
No, like the $200 you're tipping into 2009 pricing. I mean, that's the most
that's a
expensive
sealed
NES
Mike
game.
Tyson's Punch Out. That's more than a sealed Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
It had to be. Had to be at the
Yeah.
time. I'm talking like you're probably paying Panic Restaurant cart prices or even higher. Like it's real money.
Yeah.
Is there any other ones that you know about? Is it a one of one?
No, okay, it's a one of one. There's an image of another box, and it says something different across here. It says some official game. I don't think it says video or something. So there was another photographed box without it saying some word up here. I can't remember, but Frank Cifaldi of the Video Game History Foundation has a photo of that box.
But the box itself is unknown if it exists.
Yeah, it probably doesn't. This one was saved from that Consumer Electronics Show by the guy who worked at Electronic Gaming Monthly. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I have to look it up. But he pulled it off the wall, thought it was hilarious, right? Because New Kids on the Block video game, how ridiculous is this? Kept it. And he ended up working, I want to say, a PlayStation Extreme, PS Extreme magazine. And this thing is beat to hell. Literally looks like it's been ran over, just rough as all get up. But there's a reason for it, is that guy and his coworkers for the magazine, they used it as a hockey puck in their office.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's what New Kids on the Block deserves, or
yeah. I had it on display at a Too Many Games when WATA first came around, and they had it on display. And a guy came up there and said, "Oh my God, that's the box that we use as a hockey puck in the office." And he worked with the guy who owned it. Yeah, so
that's crazy.
I have a photo with that guy and me holding it on old Twitter. I gotta go find it. So
yeah, the stuff like that is just unmatched. It's unrivaled. It's the stories like that. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so really, that's it for me. For display only, prototype, mock-up, display boxes. That gets my itch more than anything in collecting.
Yeah, for good reason.
I check those save searches multiple times a day.
For good reason. I have a few like you can see I have display pieces here and stuff. That's kind of where, if I wasn't collecting video games so seriously, I would love to just collect displays, period. Retail displays, signage. I have my like Mario one there. I know that's where I would go, but I need more space and I need to collect less stuff if I ever want to go after more signage, because it's cool. It's great.
Is that the Zelda 911?
I wish. I don't have it. This is an Ocarina of Time one.
Okay.
It's the have ye what it takes, it says in the corner with Link and like Ganondorf.
I know.
Yeah. I need a 911 poster for Majora's. I need one still. When someone had it on Nintendo Age way back when, I didn't buy one.
Those are wild. Those are pretty cool. I hate both Zeldas on 64, you know that, but that marketing piece is unreal. I would absolutely love one of those.
Yeah, so. I literally just didn't have the space for it at the time because I was still living with my parents and stuff, and it was like, oh, $200 for a poster or whatever. Like, what am I doing? And regrets, man, regrets.
We all got them, man. We do.
I'll get one eventually. But thank you for coming on, Josh. This has been amazing. Like, you're such a wealth of knowledge that undoubtedly we probably will have you back on just to talk about the niche of the niche whenever it comes up. Whenever we think of another thing where it's like, oh yeah, Josh will have something to say about this. We'll definitely keep in touch with you, man. I want you back on here. You have too much information.
Anytime, man. And tag me or reach out to me if you have any questions. So
always. Thank you so much. Make sure to comment, like, ask Josh questions if you want. I'll tell him to look at the comments every now and then. And hope you guys come back and watch next week.